So for a while, I was covering the news on a daily or near the daily basis. Um, at some point, I think I decided that that wasn't really my skill set. I don't have a background in journalism. I don't know if I have the stamina to cover politics day in and day out. Um, I think the way I engage with politics is a bit different, and also, a lot of my interests and background lend themselves to talking about more academic, more abstract um, subjects that often have very little to do with the news. Um, but that doesn't mean I want to just give up talking about the news altogether. If I come across interesting news stories, I'll definitely talk about them. And I thought this one was interesting. I think this is making the rounds on the internet. And given my background in education and the humanities, it's an interesting story worth mentioning. This is from Time magazine. ChatGPT may be eroding critical thinking skills according to a new MIT study. Does ChatGPT harm critical thinking abilities? A new study from researchers at MIT Media Lab have returned some concerning results. The study divided 54 subjects, 18 to 39, from 39-year-olds from the Boston area, into three groups and asked them to write several SAT essays using OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google search engine, and nothing at all, respectively. Researchers used an EEG to record the writer's brain activity across 32 regions and found that of the three groups, ChatGPT users had the lowest brain engagement and consistently underperformed at neuro-linguistic and behavioral levels. Over the course of several months, ChatGPT users got lazier with each subsequent essay, often resorting to copy and pastes by the end of the study. The paper suggests that the usage of large language models could actually harm learning, especially for younger users. The paper has not yet been peer-reviewed, and its sample size is relatively small, but its paper's main author, Natalia Kosmina, felt it was important to release the findings to elevate concerns that a society increasingly relies upon large language models for immediate convenience, long-term brain development may be sacrificed in the process. What really motivated me to put it out now before waiting for a full peer review is that I'm afraid in 6 to 9 months there will be some policymaker who decides let's do ChatGPT kindergarten. I think that would be absolutely bad and detrimental, she said. Developing brains are at a higher risk. And then a little farther down, psychiatrist Dr. Zishan Khan, who treats children and adolescents, says that he sees many children who rely heavily on AI for their schoolwork. From a psychiatric standpoint, I see that over-reliance on these large language models can have unintended psychological and cognitive consequences, especially for younger people whose brains are still developed, he says. These neural connections that help you in accessing information, the memory of facts, and the ability to be resilient, all that is going to weaken. Scientific studies examining the impact of AI are still nascent and developing. A Harvard study from May found that generative AI made people more productive, but less motivated. Also, last month, MIT distanced itself from another paper written by a doctoral student in its economics program, which suggests that AI could substantially improve worker productivity. And I thought there was a place in here about, I can't find it now, but I thought there was a section or a paragraph about the potential benefits of AI to learning, as long as it's not solely relied upon. Well, I can't find it, but I mean this is an interesting situation we find ourselves in. I mean, it's kind of like the internet. It's kind of like social media. It's still, we've only been on social media for so long, and so we're still not entirely sure what the long-term consequences will be of social media. Many people think their consequences are going to be bad. But again, the more studies have to be done, more time has to pass for the consequences to show themselves. The same is true of ChatGPT to some extent. I mean, we don't want to put the cart before the horse. I don't think ChatGPT is the end of uh, 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 I'm not one of those people who's like screaming about how dangerous ChatGPT is. Um, I do think, though, I mean, there's reasons to be cautious of how we use it. Um, because ChatGPT is a tool. Tools can be used generally for good and bad. Um, and if a student is using the tool to write their essay for them, well, that will have an impact. It will have an impact on their learning as well as their attitudes. Um, I mean, you're not learning. You're not learning as much if you're just asking a large language learning model to write your essay for you. You're learning to some extent how to. I don't know if anyone ever read Dilbert. I think there was a kind of a catchphrase in Dilbert about working smarter, in the comic strip Dilbert, about working smarter, not harder. To some extent, I think that's what some people's perspectives are when they're using ChatGPT. If I can spend less time writing this essay, I have more time for other potentially more important things to do. But again, like I said, I mean, and I've worked in higher education. I've talked to people who have dealt with students who submit work that was obviously written by ChatGPT. ChatGPT, it will give you like false information, false quotes, or just very generic information. And so, I mean, that is a problem. I think how do I put it? I don't know. I think the goal, probably in the same way with social media, is to teach people how to use these things, how to use these tools. Because ChatGPT can be helpful. Like I said, I don't want to say it's all bad. To take a personal example, I'm job hunting right now, and I will use ChatGPT to help me with cover letters, not just copy and pasting whatever ChatGPT does, editing out incorrect information, putting my own spin on it, but helping me think of like a general structure for a cover letter and how to like match that cover letter to the job description. Right? I think that is an example where you're using a tool to minimize the amount of time you have to spend on this cover letter, so you can apply for more jobs and have a greater likelihood of getting hired somewhere. And also, I think cover letters are just kind of dumb. so I don't feel bad about that. It's I'm not proving that I learned from the teacher, so it's not cheating, right? Um, and I used to. I mean, I'm one of those people that like. I mean, I don't mean to talk so much about myself, but I'm one of those people who always comes late to pretty much every trend or uh, uh, every internet platform or every um, I'm always perpetually behind the times. And for I didn't touch ChatGPT for the longest time. Um, I saw no reason to. Um, Recently, I started like fiddling around with it again for cover letters. I will also occasionally, and this is going to make me sound like the biggest loser in the world. I will occasionally kind of talk to ChatGPT, not out of loneliness, but like if I have an idea in my head and I'm kind of want some feedback, um, and I don't have anyone to talk to in the moment, or I just don't want to. I don't feel like calling anybody or texting anybody. I will like put my idea in ChatGPT to like see what it says. Now, again, this is not in no way is this a substitute for human connection. It doesn't, I'm not doing it out of loneliness or something. It would be a terrible way to cure your loneliness. And again, you want to take it with a grain of salt because, um, it's just pulling information, from various parts of the internet, and it's obviously not going to be very emotionally literate, but it can be helpful to like think through your ideas. Um, it can be helpful to just yeah get kind of some feedback. I mean, some more like very clinical feedback, but some feedback nonetheless. Um, and yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think again, I don't want to demonize ChatGPT. I also don't want to like. I'm not going to say it's like the best thing ever. Um, it is something that educators are having to deal with. Um, and again, I guess I'm repeating myself, but this is why we really need like technological literacy. I mean, people talk about media literacy. I mean, we need that as well, but we also need technological literacy, right? How should we treat social media? How should we treat ChatGPT? What should we use these tools or platforms for? What should we not use them for? When do we know we're falling into like bad habits with them? Um, because I do think, and this is going to sound almost conservative in a way, but there is something to this idea that um, that the old school like classical education um, was good at teaching you critical thinking, but now that we have moved away from that model, we're not as good at critical thinking and writing and reading anymore. Um, I mean, again, there's other factors too. There's the democratization of education, um, and technology, um, and the need to make technology and the need to make education um, into a job into something that finds you a job, into job training. Um, but anyway, my point is like, yeah, I mean, I think many students are struggling to read at their proper grade level, struggling to struggling with attention span. I know TikTok has damaged my attention span, and I didn't get it till I was like in my 20s. Um, so, you know, it, without being like Luddites about it without being anti-technology. Um, these kinds of conversations are important for us to have, like right now, and not just if you're a parent, but potentially, especially if you're a parent, or and if you're an educator, um, and just if you're a person. I mean, again, social media and ChatGPT. I mean, technology can mislead adults. You know, like I mean, I'll notice like Google, just simple Google search. You type something into Google, and then it gives that AI generated. Yes, this is true. No, this is not true. Da, 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 da. Anytime I'm looking up something that I can like that I know anything about, um, and I read that little blurb. Again, if I know about the subject matter, very often I notice that it's wrong. Like the blurb on Google that says like, yes, this is blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, no, that's wrong. So like AI is, immediately already give you information. And many people aren't, many people aren't able to or don't have the tools or the background to say, oh, that's incorrect information. They'll just take it at face value. Um, that's what you expect with the Google search. You expect good information. Um, and so yeah, I mean AI, language learning models, just technology in general. It's all kind of confusing right now. Um, I mean, I'm confident that we can hopefully figure out how technology works for us, so we're not um, working for technology. Um, and yeah, find a way to make technology our friend and not our foe. Anyway, thank you for listening.